Hi, everyone. I'm Rinda Emick, and I'm so excited. I'm joined by Allie Flanagan. Hi, Allie.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. So, Allie and I are friends. We connected through the Sub 2 community. It's an agent community, or sorry, an investor community, and we're both agents. So when we connected, we like instantly bond, and I just love her. So we have created a friendship. I actually don't entirely know when we first connected. I mean, it's been months. It was last year. It's been months.
Yeah, I mean, it was shortly after I joined Sub 2 in October, and we
Yeah.
kind of really connected on our goals of multifamily too.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just became good friends through that too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know. And I always think of Allie, I'm like, you just never know like how you get into these like mentorships or whatever. And I'm like, but I've made so many good friends. And I think of Allie as one of those. I'm like, I put her in the bucket of like, not only did I meet her through investing stuff, but like I see us having a friendship for a very long time. So I'm super excited to have you on here. I know a little bit about you, but I want to have you share a little bit about your background. Like you are an agent, but maybe share a little bit just about who you are and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so I got licensed in 2017. I'm here in Arizona, and I got into real estate just as a traditional agent, helping buyers and sellers. And what attracted me to real estate was I come from a sales background. And so I really liked the idea of kind of being able to create your own business, being compensated based on how hard you work. And that's what drew me to real estate in the first place, along with just I later found out how much I enjoyed the aspect of like building wealth through real estate. And so in 2020, I purchased my first rental property and had that as a long-term rental, and I still have it to this day. And I think that first property really was like the light bulb that went off for me, because I could see the proof of concept of all the things that the benefits of owning real estate with cash flow, appreciation, tax benefits. And so from there, I had a goal of buying at least one property a year. And that ended up leaning a little bit more towards small multifamily, because I got into that realm. And so I just really became interested in the investing side of real estate and learning how to build wealth, and then also educating my clients on how to also invest in real estate and build wealth. And so then in October of 2023 is when I joined Sub 2, and my mind and my world was just expanded more than I could have ever imagined. And met so many people and so many different facets within real estate and just business acquisitions and all of the things. So that's kind of been my journey to where I'm at now. So
yeah, I love it. You are so, I'm getting a little bit of a feedback. Sorry, I'm not sure if it's my computer. But so we kind of came together like looking for multifamily. So Allie and I were like, we'll get on the phones, we'll call the brokers, like we'll call the sellers, we'll work through that. And so we've done a little bit of more like the acquisition side of trying to find multifamily. So I love that you've gone from agent to investor, right? And you're still an agent. So do you still do traditional sales?
I do, yeah. So I still have past clients and referrals and people that I work with that, are just looking to buy their primary residence. But I think just naturally kind of through the network, through Sub 2, and just kind of what I'm putting out there on social media and things like that, it's tending to attract more investors that want to get into the Phoenix market that might be out of state investors. And so, I will help all people. I think just owning real estate in general, whether it's just your primary home or being able to build a portfolio, it's worth, so I still help traditional clients. And now I'm focused a little bit more on investing as well.
Yeah. So, and we kind of, we've talked through like multifamily goals and stuff. So I'd be interested, well, I'd rather you share from your perspective and kind of what you're focused on in multifamily, but like some people are still like, what do you mean by multifamily? They're like, is that 2 units? Is that 4? Is that 5? Is it 20? Is it 100? Whatever. So for you, when you talk about multifamily, what exactly are you looking for or working on?
Yeah, so that's a good point because I'm not quite like at the 50 or 100 units that you might just consider to be multifamily. But so where I kind of my mind was open to, I guess, just the idea of getting out of just the single family space was when I bought a fourplex. And, I like the idea of when you're buying multifamily, you're really kind of buying a business, and it's for the income producing aspect of it. You don't have 100% vacancy all at one time. And it's just the goal is to scale. And so I think eventually I will end up selling my single family rentals and moving into larger multifamily. And I think what we've experienced, and maybe anyone that's gone down the path of multifamily, is it's the underwriting, the capital stack, the capital raising, the partnerships. There's so much that goes into, especially in larger multifamily deals. And it's like a never ending learning curve, I think. And so I think I'm grateful because through Sub 2, we've been able to have access to people that are farther along in the journey and learn from them. But I think my goals, like I still like the idea of would be like considered small multifamily, but also learning about the aspect of like syndications and raising capital and getting into larger multifamily deals through that avenue, not necessarily having to be the one acquiring and operating a large multifamily, 50 or 100 unit property. So kind of exploring that route as well as like being a limited partner or potentially a GP on a deal or something like that, and getting into those deals through raising capital or being the investor, not necessarily being the one doing the underwriting, doing the acquisitions and that sort of thing. So,
yeah. And so you really like structuring like seller finance deals.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So walk us through like a little bit of what do you love about, because you're really good on the phones with sellers, right? And it's like you're comfortable, you're natural at it. And so walk us through a little bit of that. Like, what do you love about working with sellers directly? And also, why do you love structuring seller finance?
Yeah. So I think the second fourplex that I bought was the same owner that I bought my first one from 4 years prior. And so what I love about seller finance is building that relationship directly with the owner. And really figuring out what are we trying to accomplish here? Like, let's structure a deal that's a win-win for both parties. That just makes sense, because I think that's the beauty of creative finance is like, it doesn't have to fit in a box. You can structure it in a way that's going to work for the seller, but that's also going to work for you as the buyer. And you're just kind of putting your heads together to solve that puzzle. I think there's nothing wrong with going through agents or through brokers, but sometimes it's nice to just speak directly to the decision maker and figure out, okay, what are we trying to accomplish here? And like, I still have a relationship with her. She sends me pictures when she's traveling and things like that. So it's just kind of fun, like a fun little, relationship. And I think, I heard a quote or heard someone say about seller finances, essentially the best thing about seller finance is you get what you negotiate. And the worst thing about seller finance is you get what you negotiate, meaning you better negotiate a good deal or you're getting into something that might not be good in the long run, because you don't have a bank underwriting the deal. You don't have like this, this oversight or having to go through qualifying through a traditional financing. So it's like, you better know what you're doing when you're structuring a deal and negotiating it. And I've learned so much and just so many different creative ways that you can make it work for both parties. So,
yeah, that is such a great point, Allie, because that's what I love about creative finance is it's like you just create what works for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, what do you need? Great, we'll take that. What do you need? Great, we'll take that. And you just keep kind of balancing those levers until it is a win-win for everyone. And that's what I love. It's like you don't have to go based on like, here's the box of what has to fit in here and here's what we, have to abide by. It's like you get to truly just go, oh, that car has to be somehow incorporated into this house sale. Great, we'll figure it out, And so it's so neat when you start to think creatively in structuring and negotiating these things. It's like it's endless possibilities of how you can and then think about like the friendship. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. Like
Mhm.
to also be like, I create relationships with my sellers, and now they're like my sellers sending me pictures when they're on vacation.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah. Because it's like real estate doesn't have to be so like it is what you make of it, you know? It's like I know she owns other properties and like technically she's becoming my bank and I want a good relation, just like you would have a relationship with your banker
so true.
at a traditional bank. You want a good relationship with them. And yeah, you know, I think it's about finding what works best for both parties. And the more problems you solve, the more money you make, the more assets you acquire, because you're not looking at, okay, I have to put 30% down. It has to be this loan to value. It has to be this interest rate, and it has to fit all these qualifications for the lender in order for me to buy it. Now you're opening up a whole world to create, you know, solve more problems. So
yeah. And I love that. So this second fourplex, if I'm thinking about the right one, this was you being able to walk through kind of like a lot of the different pieces of the investor world, like bringing in private money, right?
Yeah.
And having like a private money partner versus a private money lender, and being now a borrower like of private money. And so bringing in that third person in there. So, and I'm on the right track, right? Like this is like, okay. Yeah. So what's that experience like?
Yeah. So that was a whole nother learning curve because I had only ever used my own money when buying real estate, and then getting into sub two, my mind was open to using other people's money and raising capital. And so I really forced myself to get out of my comfort zone. And so that's the other cool thing I learned is like, not only can you get creative with acquiring assets, you can get creative with bringing in capital, meaning in this particular deal, it's value add. It needs a full renovation, but it was fully leased. And so we couldn't necessarily go in and make the renovations right away. So my private money lender, who I met through sub two, who I also love and have a great relationship with, started just as a private money lender and a second lien position, getting interest only payments. And then we converted into a private money partnership when more capital was needed for an equity percentage. So again, like it was just the two of us finding, you know, communicating, figuring out what worked best for both of us, what made sense for the deal. And it just opens up the opportunities to be able to do more. And so now we're actually converting that one into co-living, and
awesome.
Yeah. And that's kind of part of the, I guess what we refer to as our Mount Everest, which is like our big picture goal. And for me, it's being able to create more affordable housing through small multifamily. And so we just have we just put our first unit on live like a week ago for rent by the room. And so then the goal is to then end up turning the 3 other units. So it'll essentially be a 12-room property for rent by the room for affordable housing. So.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah. I was actually going to ask you, that's like one of my questions I was thinking about for you. So, you know, we're kind of we have a higher level mentorship that we're in called Owners Club. And we are working through like, you know, what is your Mount Everest? What is your grand kind of goal, right? Like that bigger legacy type thing. And so you just mentioned a little bit, like you scratched the surface. So what does that actually look like for you?
Yeah. So I think specifically here in Arizona and maybe most parts of the country, we know how much affordable housing is an issue right now. And so I love the idea of specifically in small multifamily of, you know, in a 3 or 4 unit property, converting a 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit into a 3-bed, 1-bath unit, being able to rent by the room. And that significantly increases your cash flow. But is a little bit of a different model than say converting a single family home into an 8-bedroom, 3-bath property, because they're all separate units. So you only ever have 3 people in one space at one time. And so I really like the idea of that. And so the goal is just to scale that larger to, you know, have like a certain income goal and being able to scale that over the next few years. And that's kind of the first part. But then the second part is kind of what you touched on in the beginning, is the agent to investor role or aspect, being able to help more agents, just traditional agents, acquire real estate, they're selling real estate to a lot of other people, but a lot of agents actually don't really fully understand using real estate as a vehicle to build wealth and like how to invest in real estate. So I think that's another area that I really like feel called to help other agents just recognize and be aware of how much the potential there is to better their lives and their future by owning more real estate. So
yeah. And I was just on a live with my best friend in California who's an agent, and she kind of had a similar thing. She's like, she was in real estate for 10 years before she like bought a house, right? And then she was in real estate for, I don't even know, maybe 15 before she started investing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, there's a high percentage of agents, I don't have the exact number and the exact stats, but that have, one, don't own a home, and two, have never invested. And obviously the ones that have never invested, that's even much higher, and investing in real estate. And so I'm like, think about how much better of an agent you are when you understand how to buy real estate, but also invest in real estate. Mm-hmm. So from your perspective, how has being an investor been better for your agent business?
Yeah, I think it's just having maybe different types of conversations, being able to speak to things that you can't just see on paper or in a picture. You're not just talking about the specs of the home, like the bedrooms and the bathrooms, but you can speak to, okay, what is the like a rate of appreciation look like here? If you ever needed to move, what do we think that this could rent for? Is this just a smart investment decision? I understand that this is like your home that you're living in, and that's a different motivation, but let's make sure that this is a good financial decision as well, and kind of maybe forecast or like create a plan around, hey, if this isn't your forever home, maybe you'll be here for 5 to 7 years. Will this be a good rental property for you in the future if you do want to build wealth through real estate? Or let's make sure we're buying it at a price that we know in X amount of years you can, expect this amount of appreciation that then you can roll into another property or something like that. So, I think it's just having maybe a little bit of a different experience, because I can truly tell the stories of like how, when I bought this property in 2020, rents increased every year, the values increased every year. I can now borrow against that property to now do private money lending or invest in other projects. And so, yeah, it just opens up the conversation. And I think is like, I come from like a more of an advisor role rather than just, I'm showing you a house or I'm just selling your house. It's kind of like let's take a holistic approach to like what you're trying to accomplish and create a plan for you.
Yeah, definitely makes you a better agent, like in so many ways. And I just love that too, because I think of like a first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer, or somebody just looking for a primary residence, right? It's like those things are not probably crossing their mind, and having somebody who's like offering this different perspective. And then even so, going in and being able to just speak the language to investor clients, right? Like you have plenty of investor clients. And so you now, as an agent, you can have investor clients without being an investor, and you can sell them houses and they're going to do what they're going to do with them. But being an investor yourself, like you're now speaking their language. You understand why they're doing what they're doing, why they're buying what they're buying. Like you get this whole different perspective, and also be, better service to them. So it's such a, like, I feel compelled. I'm like, please, like, do what you need to do to like get this out to the world, because agents, I just think like, gosh, you could make really good investors, and then the opposite of the coin, this will help you become a much better agent. So,
yeah. And I think it's funny because I think back to when I first got into real estate, and I remember like year 1 or 2 getting calls from investors, and I'd be like, oh, you're never going to buy. Just like, I don't want to deal with these people. They want to buy so low and make lowball offers. And, I was naive. I didn't know. And I think now, it's when you're working with an investor client, those people could be buying 2 to 10 properties a year. Like those are clients that you really want to serve, because rather than buying one home every 7 or 10 years, like a primary residence. Right. And like now I think like I've at the very least just now have so much more confidence in negotiating and just having conversations with people. And I think when agents, one, maybe they don't even own a home themselves, or they've never invested in real estate, and we've all dealt with, even us agents ourselves or talking to brokers, you know, we've had those agents that aren't open-minded at all and shut us down. And I think it comes from a place of just not knowing, you know, not being educated. And so they put walls up because they just don't want to like lead on that they don't know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that's really what I've learned is like, I remember in the beginning being like, oh, I don't want to work with investors. And now it's like totally flips because I just can speak the language and have confidence around it. And it really changes your whole business once you understand how to, like, on the investing side, I think.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit too. So you also, are you still going down the path of private money lending? Like, are you still kind of like, what does that look like for you now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm definitely still interested in it, but I found a lot of work to vet deals, vet borrowers, and it's a whole nother business really. And so I think the main hindrance, I guess, is just time, you know, finding the time to do all the things and in one day and being able to build those relationships with borrowers. So yeah, you know, I've only done one private money lending deal and learned a lot from that one, and would like to do more. I think it's just I tend to like nitpick like deals. I'm a little scared when it comes to that, and it's like I'd rather just wait to do a really good deal than jump into something that I regret. So you know, it hasn't been as much of a priority, but hopefully it will be, you know, one day. So
yeah, but that's actually really good advice. like without saying it directly, you're like, I tend to nitpick and be, that's really good advice. Cause there are, would be surprised like how much money is out there for private money, and people just want their money to work, like go to work for them and make more money. And so they get caught up in deals that they're not vetting properly, or they're not vetting the borrowers properly. They're not even underwriting it themselves. And so there's definitely a risk there. I mean, there's always a risk. It's real estate, but there's definitely a risk there. And so for you to say like, I'm kind of picky, it's like, that's a good thing, Allie. Like,
yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel bad or it's just kind of exhausting, but, you know, in the very beginning and stuff too, I was super eager to jump into a lending deal, and I'm so grateful. I just had like a gut check or something. And, you know, who knows, those deals could have been totally fine and worked out, but I just knew I was moving too fast. Like I was making decisions too quickly that I was like, what is the rush? You know, like if I'm going to be, it's not worth losing sleep over just to do a deal. And like, I did have a few sleepless nights, and I think that, you know, about the first private money lending deal that I did that thankfully ended up working out. But I think back to that and it's like, let's avoid that at all costs. So
yeah. And yeah, I mean, gosh, there's so many different things, but it's really cool to hear the flip side of that coin, and having you using a private money lender now, being a good borrower. Like, I'm sure, I mean, I know both of you girls, so I'm like, I'm sure this is working out so great, you know, and the communication, and that's like so ideal. Like you've spent a lot of time to get to where you are right now, for you guys to have a private money deal and this fourplex and stuff like running as smooth as it is. And that's really cool. Like, it's great.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I take partnerships really seriously. Like, you know, getting into an operating agreement and all, like owning property together, like it's a pretty big decision. And sometimes people jump into things and, you know, it's all good until it's not good. And so, you know, I think being a lender, you know, understood that perspective, and then coming from the borrower side, and, you know, we're holding this for the long term. So it's like, we're basically marrying this person for a short period of time, and you better make sure that you're on the same page, you know? So yeah, I think it's just going back to like knowing your strengths and weaknesses and communicating and trying to set yourself up for success, like from the very beginning. So luckily I think we've done that. So.
Yeah. So what steps are you going to take towards kind of like, are you going to start educating agents, or what do you, I know you're super passionate about this agent to investor type, you know, what does that look like for you? What steps are you taking to start to implement that?
Yeah, I think I could definitely be doing more, but I think right now it's kind of just documenting my day to day, you know, through social media, and like naturally just having people reach out or be curious, like other agents be curious and reach out and having those conversations. I am on a team as well on the agent side, and there's like 15 other agents. So just talking to them about kind of what I'm doing and how I've switched my mindset a little bit. And I think eventually down the road, I would like to create some sort of maybe like course or workshop or something of that nature, like in person, to get into more detail and kind of build a community around that of agents to learn and just share my knowledge through, like, whether that's like YouTube or podcast or something. So what that looks like, I don't know exactly, but hopefully soon I will put something together.
You will. So, okay, last question I have for you is share something that a lesson you've learned or a tip or a piece of advice on the investor side. So as an investor, you know, whatever it is, private money, like all the things, multifamily, anything that you have that you can share that would help somebody who is either a new investor or kind of getting more into the investing that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think really what allowed me to take more risk when it came to investing was partnering. And I think that's kind of a, you know, when you're first wanting to invest, you feel like you have to do it all on your own. You feel like you have to go out and do all the research and due diligence, which you should, but you don't necessarily have to do it on your own. You can find someone to partner with that's farther along in the journey than you. And maybe you bring the capital and they bring their expertise, and, you know, because you want to succeed, you don't want to just buy a deal to buy a deal. You might as well team up with someone that's going to help you execute and make it successful. And so the first fourplex that I bought, I partnered with the guy that I started on the team with in real estate. And I'm so grateful for, because it was an off-market opportunity and it was a really good deal. And he had the investor mindset at the time. I had the agent mindset at the time. And I was trying to figure out how to sell it. And he was like, why don't we buy it? And that was really a light bulb, because, and I think that's where a lot of agents, they see opportunities, but they don't see opportunities because they're trying to figure out how to list the property, when it's like, you should be buying this property. And so that was a big mind shift, and we still own it to this day. But I would never have bought that on my own. I wouldn't have known what to do. I wouldn't have known the steps to take, but because I partnered with him, you know, and sure, you're giving up equity and you're giving up cash flow, but 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, so I think that's something, a huge lesson that I'm so grateful that I learned early on. And I think a lot of investors should try and partner, you know, on their first one if they can, and not do it on their own, and, you know, if they don't have to. So
I love that. Yeah. Cause gosh, so many people are like eager to get a deal, eager to get it, to just get in a deal. Right. And then like that eagerness can create trouble. Right. And so just, that is a really good tip, because outside of our community, I think a lot of people think they have to do it on their own. And our community is really like, you've got everything you need right here, right? Like you need lending, you need this, you need deals, like it's all here. And it's really opened my eyes, like big time, to partnering. Cause my husband and I always thought like, we're just going to build the whole thing on our own, do everything. We'll do the renovate, like we'll do everything ourselves. And how do you scale? Like, so not only is it great for the brand new person who just came in and is like, I just want a deal. I just want a deal. Okay, well then partner with somebody who is experienced. So you make sure you get yourself into a good deal. Yeah. And then for somebody who's experienced, it's like, well, now you've got experience, but now how do you scale partners? You go and you work with people and you can grow this thing as big as you want. So that is such a great tip for, and I would have never said that like a year and a half ago. I've been like, no, you can do it. Just do it all yourself, you know, but now I really see the power of partners, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And you shorten the learning curve. It's like, why make it harder than it needs to be, you know? And it doesn't have to be like a long term, like you can do like a joint venture, like it's one deal that you're working together on, and you make sure you guys work together well. And there's ways to do it so that, you know, you protect yourself and things like that. But you're going to get, I mean, I think it's what Pace preaches and what our whole community is about, is like, you're going to get farther faster by working with other people and finding the who and not figuring out how to do it all on your own. So yeah,
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Allie. I really appreciate you jumping on with me. How can people find you or reach you?
Yeah, Instagram is probably best. My name or tag, I don't even know what it's called. My handle is on the screen. So yeah, that's probably the easiest way.
So just Allie, just your first name, last name on your handle?
Yeah, Allie K. Flanagan. Yeah.
Allie K. Flanagan. Okay, awesome. Cool. We'll also put it in the description, but awesome. Well, thank you so much, Allie. I really, really enjoyed my time with you today. And of course, I'll be talking with you soon.
Yes. All right. Thank you.